Hello, everyone, and welcome back to our Dream Vessels Maker of the Month interview. You guys, if you missed part one of this interview, please go back and watch. I am here with the incredible Lymarie Jimenez of the
Hello.
Hi of Nokomis Home Fragrance, and she started her candle company in August of 2020 and has just announced that she is opening a brick and mortar location in July of this year. I mean, inspiring and just thought provoking. I don't know what is. So, Lymarie, tell us a little bit about like why you decided to make the jump to open a brick and mortar store, especially after like what 2020 was like, and this is a huge step. How did you get here?
It is a huge step and it's very nerve-wracking. But actually I did it out of necessity. I was approached, initially my largest wholesale client is Whole Foods, and they approached me wanting holiday candles on top of my regular line. And I knew that I was not going to be able to fulfill an opening order of holiday candles plus my regular out of my home. It was just not going to happen because I had already outgrown my home. I had no dining room. I had no living room. It was candle stuff everywhere. It was driving my husband insane. It was driving me insane. And so I knew that at this point it was time to get a brick and mortar and really start to expand my business. So that's why I made the jump, and I decided in May, I was like, I better look for some places and sign my lease, and grand opening is next month. Or actually this month. Oh my God, it's this month.
It's this month.
It's going so fast.
I could only imagine, Lymarie, but what I think is really interesting about you opening up this brick and mortar is because your candles were doing so well at Whole Foods that they wanted to expand upon the line.
Yes.
I mean, that's huge. That's huge. So it really says that putting like, your best foot forward and really making products that, there's a white space opportunity for it in the market. And look how that has turned out for you. I just think that's incredible.
Thank you. And yeah, that was definitely something, when I was first approached by Whole Foods, I had a few different kinds of candles that, different vessels and containers and all that I made, but I was very specific with what I offered them because I thought about from a retail point of view, what would look good on a shelf. So at the time I was getting ready to make my product boxes. So I knew that I would want each scent to have its own different, like same design, but different color box, so that when they're all lined up on a shelf, you could tell them apart. You could tell that it's 7 different fragrances instead of just one. I decided to have a product box, even though I technically didn't need one, because I wanted the integrity of the vessel to, be secured. And also because, again, from a retail point of view, boxes are very stackable. One piece of advice that I always give to makers is real estate on a shelf is like gold. And if someone is going to be on a shelf, you want to have as much of your product out at once. And so if you have stackable things, that's really good for a shelf. And also keep in mind, your product has to be aesthetically pleasing, because if a buyer is going to kick somebody else off the shelf to put your product on, because that's in reality, that's what is happening. They're going to take a lower performing item off the shelf and they're going to put you on it. If they're going to do that, then they need to think that it's going to sell. And so it has to be aesthetically pleasing. It has to make sense. Like I said, having 7 of the exact same box wouldn't make sense because people would think it's all one scent or something. So having little ideas like that, really thinking it through, I think was obviously helped me, because they have been selling really well.
Which is fantastic. Now, talking about vessels, like how did you find us? How did you find Dream Vessels, and what has your experience been like with our company?
So Dream Vessels, I initially found years ago, and I started testing with them. And the I don't know if I'm saying it right. Evoca
Uh-huh.
the Avoca vessel.
Evoca.
Yeah, is my absolute favorite. This vessel is stunning.
It is beautiful.
And so I use this vessel exclusively for my holiday line. So last year I used them, this year I'm using them again, and I'm so excited to see them inside Whole Food stores. Because the thing is, yes, well, the thing is, you know, my buyer said, do you have something unique, you know, something different? And I'm like, yes, I do. I have the perfect vessel for it. And these sold so well last year. And it was insane because their main selling point and what I would do is I would show potential buyers, because I did a lot of markets, I would show them videos of it burning and how it glows in that vessel is absolutely stunning.
Stunning. It is.
So I knew immediately when they asked for holiday candles, I'm like, I have the perfect vessel.
It's
and
amazing.
so that's
it's amazing. And what's so great is that, you know, we really focus on luxury as well. You know, we really think that the vessel makes a huge difference in the product. And that has obviously worked so well for you too.
Yes.
Going back to your brick and mortar, like what made you choose the particular area that you're in? Is it a high walking traffic area? Like tell us why you chose this particular building.
Well, the funny thing is, I initially was based in Naples, but when I was looking for a retail space, Naples is absurdly expensive. I mean, like upwards of $40 to $60 a square foot. It was just insane. So I started looking Fort Myers, and Fort Myers
is that a bigger or smaller part of town?
They're actually, I want to say they're kind of even.
Okay.
So we have, I mean, Fort Myers is north of Naples. So if you've never been to the area, it's Fort Myers. Everybody knows like Fort Myers Beach and all that. And then Naples is like 20 minutes south.
Okay.
And I actually live right in the middle.
Perfect.
And so for me, it was really, you know, either one. But I decided to choose Fort Myers. One was cost, but also two, I noticed that a lot of my really fabulous buyers were from Fort Myers. A lot of my repeat buyers were from Fort Myers. A lot of my really good clients were from Fort Myers. The boutique that I sell in is in Fort Myers. And so I was like, you know, my candles do really well in Fort Myers. So I decided to look there, and I found a space that I thought was just absolutely perfect. It's nothing fancy. It's not huge. It's 800 square feet, but I think it's perfect. The location's beautiful. I don't face a parking lot, which is awesome. My part of the building faces a beautiful courtyard. So I thought it was a perfect space. So it literally, as soon as I said that I'm going to need a space, I looked. 2 days later, I found it. I signed a lease. It was just perfect.
I mean, and what a great lesson in really listening to your consumer, really listening to your customer and giving them what they want. I mean, that's sometimes the answer is right in front of you, you know? So it's really
And the funny thing is, ever since then, I've had so many customers come up to me and be like, oh my God, that is so close to my house. Oh, you're opening there? That's like, oh, that's really close to me. Oh, that's so convenient. And I was like, yay, I picked a good spot.
Absolutely. And building that relationship is just huge, you know, and that's what's going to, you know, I'm sure going to make your company continue to grow. So let's talk about design. In a minute, I want to talk about like your Instagram, like photography and all of that, because I mean, it basically got you here along with the rest of the products. But how are you planning on designing your store? What's the layout going to be? You know, what are you doing about hiring? Like, have you already hired people to work the storefront or all of that? Like, what's that going to look like for you?
I wish. No, I have not hired anybody. I am a one-woman show currently. I do plan on hiring help for the holidays, because I think this year holidays are going to be absolutely insane. But as far as the layout of the store, the part in the back obviously is my studio. And so that's where I have my wax melters and all of my supplies and all that. I was very blessed that the space that I have has beautiful wood floors. So I didn't have to do much there. It was a hideous blue color though, so I had to paint the walls. And I actually decided to go with just a really nice, kind of antique looking white. So everything in there is white. All of my furniture in the front is white. My desk is white, my retail area, everything, all the shelving is white, because I really wanted the product to stand out. So it's all very white, classic. And then the other thing I decided to do was I didn't want to have just a store that sells candles.
Okay.
Because to me, that's very one note. So I decided to also sell some other product that I purchased wholesale. And it's all by female artists. So everything in my store is made by a woman, designed by a woman. And so I have just a lot of beautiful things for the home, because, you know, I think candles, you think home. And so I have very beautiful complementary products that are all like female made, female owned businesses. And so I'll be selling those as well.
That is just incredible, Lymarie. I mean, you, throughout this interview, you have noted like over 3 ways that you are helping others like you. And I just think that's something that we just don't see often. I mean, you're really going to have other female owners products in your store. Like, that's huge.
Yes.
That's so huge. And I think that also goes to why your company is and will continue to do well, is because you are really, you're focused on, I mean, you're not just focused on yourself, you know what I mean? And I think that is so, it's like karma. It's all going to come back, right? It's all going to come back. So I just think that's so inspiring. And the fact that you really believe that competition is a good thing. And I think it's so important. And I think it's something that a lot of people need to hear over and over and over again. That's kind of why I keep dwelling on it, because I feel like so many people are like, oh, well, there's so many candles out there already. And, oh, well, why will mine be different? Or, oh, it's already too saturated of a market. But that's not a reality.
And it's really up to you to stand out. It's up to you to create the brand of your dreams and something that you can really feel passionate about, no matter what it is. If you want a brand that is totally into like crystals and, like tarot readings and all that, go for it. If you want a brand that is totally about like dessert candles, go for it. There is a market out there, and there are people out there who are going to love your candles and be so happy that you decided to start your business. So that's what I tell people is like, you shouldn't be in business to be like everybody else. You should be in business to be yourself. So
words to live by. So as I was doing my research on you and on your company, I of course found your Instagram page, and your photography is just so beautiful. It's so stunning. It's so elegant. Tell us about like that process. Do you hire someone to do those photos for you? Do you do it all yourself? What is that process like?
Well, at first, it is me doing the photography. So a lot of the older pictures are my photography. One thing and I take pictures with my phone. So by no means am I telling anybody to go out and purchase a $500 camera. All of my pictures are with my phone, and I'm a big fan of editing. I use Lightroom app to edit all my pictures. And I also use those photography backgrounds. So I use those as well. And I think that when you're first starting out, that's totally what you should do. You don't need to, when you're first starting out, invest thousands of dollars in a professional photographer. You can easily do, like I said, YouTube is your friend. YouTube has lots of tutorials on product photography. And so if you buy just a couple backgrounds and you learn a little bit about product photography using natural light, editing software, it's really not that hard, I promise. Then, you can do your own product photography. And as long as it's cohesive and, it's on brand, so you don't have a bunch of random, things that don't really go together, then I definitely think that's the way to start. Lately, my pictures have improved because I have a fantastic photographer. And I recently did a branding photo shoot because I'm redoing my website, and I really wanted to take my brand to the next level. So I think when you're ready to take your brand to the next level, invest in professional photography. It is one of the best investments ever. People, especially with candles, if they're shopping online, which you have to think of your website as your brick and mortar, unless you actually have one, because that's where, you know, people are going to buy from. And so if that's your brick and mortar, you have to invest a lot of time and money and energy into it. And one of the things I always tell people is invest in photography, because if you have low quality pictures, your website's not going to look professional and people aren't going to take you seriously. But if you have really amazing pictures, you know, the longer somebody sits on your website, the more likely they are to purchase. And so you want to make sure to keep them engaged with beautiful photography. And so that's one of the things I did is I recently did splurge on a branding photo shoot and product photography. So I'm updating all of my pictures. And so a lot of the beautiful ones that you see on there definitely was my photographer, and she's amazing.
Got it. So your Whole Foods deal though, did that come before your professional photography? So
Yes.
You don't even need a professional photographer to get the big deal.
Nope. And that's actually something, I have a YouTube channel. And so that's actually something I mentioned in the YouTube channel was you don't need professional photography and you don't need a lot of followers. I have less than 2,000 followers. And I think at the time that Whole Foods approached me, I had like 700. Wow. So you don't need a lot of followers. You don't need professional photography. You just need a good brand and a product that you believe in, and that you can tell, like from your Instagram, that you are really working on your product and you believe in your product and you believe in your brand. So that would be my best advice is a lot of people think you need a lot of followers. I actually know some fellow candle people that have like 50, 60,000 followers and they're envious of my sales. So having that many followers does not mean that they're getting a lot of sales. It doesn't mean they're making a lot of money. So it's what I call a vanity metric. It's total vanity. It has nothing to do with your success. There's one brand that I follow that I know for a fact she's killing it. She's in hundreds of stores. She has like 5,000 followers. So it has nothing to do with your success. So don't pay attention to it.
So good to know. Such good insider information to know, like what really is going to make a difference in your business. That is just so incredible. So incredible.
Yep, it's all about your brand. That's what matters.
It's all about your brand.
Yep.
I mean, you keep just inspiring me, you know, and this is just so helpful. You mentioned your YouTube channel.
Yes.
Can you let us know a little bit about that? We want to know like what that channel is. Also, don't forget to tell us your website and your Instagram page so we can continue to follow you and be inspired. But tell us a little bit about your YouTube page and how you use that in your business framework.
Yeah, so my social handles and everything is very simple. It's all Nokomis Home Fragrance, Nokomis. Nokomis Home Fragrance is my Facebook and my TikTok and my Instagram. And then of course my YouTube is Nokomis Home Fragrance. And that's my YouTube channel. I started it because I'm part of a lot of Facebook groups, and I would constantly be getting DMs, questions. And finally I just said, you know what, I should probably just start a YouTube channel so I can answer all the questions I keep getting and, you know, have it on there. And so I make videos about like, you know, how to successfully wholesale or get your, you know, how to pitch to wholesale buyers. I make videos on how I make my candles and, you know, boxing and product photography and things like that. And so now that I have my brick and mortar, I'll be making more videos on how to run a business and what it takes to, you know, successfully start a business and on all those things. So again, it's just kind of my way of helping other makers because like I said, for me, it's not about competition. If somebody asks me a question and I know the answer and they're not asking me something like super personal, there's no reason why I wouldn't tell them.
Oh, so awesome. So incredible. We'll make sure to relay those handles and that YouTube channel at the end of the interview, just in case someone's missing this part. I would hate it for them. I would hate for them to be missing any part of this 2-part interview because you are giving so much valuable information. And I think it's really going to change a lot of people's lives because it's so honest, it's so real, it's so straightforward, and you're just getting it so willingly, which I think is just the way to go. But you'd be surprised at how much gatekeeping happens, trying to keep it all but that's just not what your brand is about. So.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of that, unfortunately. And like I said, there's no reason why I wouldn't share the company that makes my boxes, because I know that company is not going to make the exact same box for you.
Exactly.
And there's no reason why I wouldn't share, where I buy something. What you're going to do with it is totally different than what I did with it. So why not share it?
Exactly. Let's talk a little bit about your support system. So, I mean, starting a business, starting a brick and mortar, having a baby, having a husband, how do you do it all? How do you
I literally would not be able to do it without my family.
Without your family?
Yes. So my mother and my mother-in-law help watch my daughter. I do, however, have an area for her in my store.
Oh,
so she has, and it's on my YouTube. It's in one of the YouTube videos. But she has her own little area, her own little play area. So I can bring her with me to the shop. But so they take care of my daughter on days where I just, have so much to do that I can't. My husband also definitely does his fair share of raising our daughter and taking her, and when I need, right now he's watching her. So anytime that I need his help, he's willing to help me. And same with my sister. My sister's actually flying down to Florida for the holidays to help me out in my business. So it's definitely would not be able to do it without my family.
Incredible. And were they supportive from the beginning? I mean, I'm sure it was a shock going from being this, pastry chef and, having a very stable life to moving into creating something so new. Were they supportive from the beginning, or did you have to kind of warm them up to the idea?
I think once I signed my deal with Whole Foods, everybody was on board. Everybody was like, yep, this is happening.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, I mean, before that, of course, they were supportive, but I think that kind of just did it for everybody. And they're like, yeah, this is real. This is happening. So. So cool. Just all of the, it seems like all of the ingredients to the perfect, perfect business has just come to fruition for you. Now let's talk about what are some things that you wish you knew in the beginning that you didn't and you think may have helped you? So I know it seems like everything has gone off really, really well and almost seamlessly. Is that true, or have you had any hiccups, and what have you learned? What have you learned from the hiccups, if so? Yeah, I mean, I've had some hiccups where for a long time, I just didn't know the importance of certain things. Like, if I wish from the beginning, I really would have researched label companies, because I was printing off my labels at home and they looked like I was printing them off at home. And I found my current label company, and they are so inexpensive because my labels are gold foil, and gold foil labels can be super, super expensive. And everywhere I was talking to, they were like thousands and thousands of dollars. And the one that I found is literally, I think it was 2,200 labels for $300. I mean, it was insane. And so I really wish I would have researched that more, because I feel like getting these labels, and I just recently got the labels too. I think it was maybe February of this year.
Oh, wow. So yeah,
so all of last year was all homemade labels. And I think labels really do matter. I've seen some candle brands in public where their labels are either off, really off center, or you can tell they printed them at home. They've got print lines, or the images aren't clear, they're fuzzy. And that again just leads to your brand not looking like an actual business. It looks like a hobby. And so that's definitely something that I wish I would have researched further, because I could have had amazing labels from the beginning.
Well, thank you. Thank you for sharing that. That's really good information to know. tell us about like your goals for the future. I mean, you've already done so much in such a small period of time. What are some of your goals, for the future of your brand?
Well, specifically for this year, and it's insane that I'm even saying it, but my goal is to hit 6 figures, which is looking like it's going to happen, which is incredible. Yay. So that was one of my first goals, was to hit 6 figures. My next goal is to hit 7.
Yeah.
I'd like to hit a valuation of $1 million by 5 years. So that is my next financial goal. And then as far as my business and my brand is really, I am expanding into a couple different things. I have some really great sprays that are coming out in August.
Oh.
And I also have a men's line coming out, because I got asked, it was so funny. I got asked, this guy asked me if I had mandals, and I'm like, mandals? And he's like, yeah, man candles.
A mandal? I have never heard of that. And that is the cutest thing I've ever heard. A mandal.
I'd never heard of it either. Yes, it is trademarked. No, I can't use it. I checked. It's trademarked. But I thought it was hilarious. And I actually, during my testing phase, the whole year, I found these incredible fragrances that I'm like, this would make an incredible men's candle. And so that line I'm working on right now. I'm having labels made. And I'm getting samples of different vessels and stuff for that, but that one I'm super excited about. So I definitely have some things that I'm going to be, some new products that I'm coming out with as well. So I'm excited about that. And then also continuing to get into more stores. So once I want to finish this year out with my brick and mortar and see how that is for the holiday season. And then next year, I'm going to start probably going to trade shows. That's actually one really good piece of advice I want to give to makers. Like, once you've established your brand, obviously, and once you feel like you're at a point where you can really wholesale, trade shows are really the best way to do that. I contacted 2 successful brands that, candle brands that I follow on Instagram, and I private messaged them, and they were nice enough to message me back. And I asked them, I'm like, you're in so many stores. How did that happen? And both of them said the exact same thing, was trade shows. Wow. And so there are 2 big trade shows in New York. One of them is called New York Now, and one is called Shop Objet. Both of them have winter shows and summer shows, and they are expensive, to get into. So that's why I said, if it's once you're established and you're really ready to go to that next level. But trade shows are really the thing to do if you want to get into, like 50, 60, 100, 200 stores, is really trade shows. So that's what I'm going to be focusing on next year.
Fantastic. So trade shows, continuing to expand the wholesale market.
Yes.
I imagine that the brick and mortar store is going to take up a pretty big chunk of your time, because you have to actually be there. Are you worried about having to balance all of those things together as you're growing your business, or do you believe that things are it's just gonna happen the way it should?
I'm not too worried about it. Currently I make my own hours. It's not something where I have to be open 7 days a week, 10 hours a day or anything like that. So I'm actually going to have, days where I just go in and make candles and, do production, and then days that I'm actually open.
Got it.
So it's not going to be every single day. And so I think it'll be okay. As long as it's something I try to be very organized, and I have Mondays are my production days, Tuesdays I finish and, I let the candles cure, then I finish, I package. Wednesdays are my content days. So those are the days I focus on YouTube and my social media and picture taking. Thursdays are business days. So I have my business meetings and things like that. So I try to kind of, if I keep it like that, then yes, I'll be okay.
Incredible. And that's so funny, because I was actually going to ask you, what does a typical day for you look like? But it looks like you have a calendar for your business that's very particular. Let's just say, on what is a typical Tuesday look like for you now? So I know you haven't officially launched the brick and mortar yet, but as of right now, what does a typical Tuesday look like for you, as you know, being a fairly—
Well, the funny thing is I didn't used to do that. I used to be scattered, and I would just get stuff done whenever I had a chance. But a friend of mine she owns a marketing business, and that was fantastic advice that she gave me. She said, Mondays are for emails, and that's when I answer all my emails and do all that. Tuesdays are client calls, and that's when and I was like, that's such a great idea.
It is.
So for me, it makes the most sense that Mondays are my production days. So those are the days I focus on production. So for me, a typical Tuesday is finishing up those candles. So I would pour on Mondays. And then, so Tuesdays, I'm trimming wicks, I'm cleaning vessels, I'm putting labels on, I'm boxing, I'm putting UPCs. I sell in case packs for wholesale. So I put my case packs together, I label them, I organize. That's a typical Tuesday for me.
Fantastic.
Is my organizing and basically taking stock of what I have. And then, obviously for my wholesale, then it would be fulfilling those orders that I get and getting those ready for shipment.
Got it. So we've talked a little bit about your wholesale. We've talked about your brick and mortar coming up. What has your experience been like with direct to consumer, like from your website? Do you still have a lot of business that comes directly from your website, or about what's the percentage? I'm just curious.
Well, the funny thing is for my website, it's not like I get orders every single day, but out of nowhere, I'll get like a $300 order, or, it's kind of crazy. Like rarely does somebody order one candle, which is awesome considering my price point.
Exactly. And what is the price point of the majority of your line?
It's $39 and above. So my 9-ounce candles are $39. And my beautiful Evoca vessels for the holidays will be $50. So I have kind of a high price point, but just the other day before, I'm actually on vacation right now, but before I came on vacation, I fulfilled an order and it was 4 candles. That's almost $200 where, like I said, rarely does somebody buy one candle. It's usually more. And so even though I might not get orders every single day, when I do, they're on the larger side. I also do have a lot of local clients that are fabulous clients. They've spent entirely too much money with me. And they're very excited about the brick and mortar as well. But I would say, for online orders, they're kind of, when they come, when they don't, they don't. I obviously have busier times throughout the year. Summer's pretty slow for everybody. Mm-hmm. So I focus on wholesale. And then I also do like to do markets. And since it's Florida and it's hot, I try not to do the summer markets, but like the fall markets and the holiday markets, obviously, I do very well.
Tell us a little bit more about the markets. Like what are the markets like? How do you get involved with them? What does that look like?
So I know a lot of makers do farmers markets, and those are awesome. But one, I think my price point is a little too high for a farmer's market. And two, farmers markets, you sometimes, at least in Florida, you have to make a commitment for the entire season. It can get quite expensive. And there's also a lot of insurance requirements. And it just wasn't right for me. I wanted a little bit more flexibility. So what I do is, again, Instagram. I follow a lot of networking events that do pop-ups. And so they'll do holiday pop-ups, and they'll just do random, hey, this Saturday, we're doing this great pop-up for whatever reason. And so I do those throughout the year, maybe 10 or 20 of those, especially during the holiday season. There's lots of pop-ups. So really look to other businesses in your area and follow other businesses and see what they're doing. And if they're doing pop-ups, find out how you can get, in touch with the same people and be part of the pop-ups. But a lot of the networking groups that I'm a part of, they do a lot of pop-ups. And so that's been, I've been able to do a lot of events through that.
Another just remarkable gem. There are so many gems in this interview, and I know we can keep going on and on and on, but I know you're on vacation. I just first want to say thank you so much for taking time out of the day to share this information with us. Thank you for allowing Dream Vessels to be a part of your business. You know, we really, really appreciate, you know, being aligned with brands that are just so wonderful, and makers who are just so inspiring and are really like making their dreams come true like you. So we just want to say thank you so much for allowing us to be involved in that. So we have to wrap up, we're almost out of time, but if you wanted to leave the viewers, the makers, with one keynote of advice, what would that be? And then after that, tell us again your social media handles, and everywhere that we can find you, go forward.
Okay, my best piece of advice was kind of from before, is to get into this business to be yourself, to put forth the brand that you want to be proud of and that you want to do. So whatever kind of candle that is, do that candle. Do not try to copy other people or be like everybody else, because you're not going to make it. But if you have something unique that's just you, I feel like a lot of the times you're going to love your brand so much because it is you, that it's going to come off in everything that you do. And so people are going to be like, oh my God, did you hear her? Like, she's so in love with her brand. Like, I love it. I love to see her passion or whatever it is. And I want to support her. That's usually what happens, like with me, is people want to support me because I believe in my brand so much. So that would be like my golden nugget of advice.
Oh, perfect.
To everybody is basically do you.
Do you. Simple as that. And how can we continue to follow you? And everything is at, spell it out for us.
Nokomis Home Fragrance. So Nokomis Home Fragrance. That is all the socials. So Pinterest, TikTok, Facebook, and Instagram. And then my website is www.nokomishomefragrance.com.
And that's the end. Thank you so much, Lymarie. You were amazing.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Have a wonderful day, and thanks so much for chatting with us.
Thank you. Bye-bye.